It is 7 minutes now after the hour, 69 degrees in downtown Sylacauga on a beautiful, beautiful Thursday morning. And I'm glad we got some beauty on this set. I'm not talking about Brother Donnie, I'm talking about Miranda. And we welcome Brother Donnie Blackman and Miranda Tarwater this morning. It is Hamilton reunion time, Brother Donnie. Good morning.
It is. Good morning.
Talk a little bit about the Hamilton reunion.
All
Bill
right.
Hamilton was one of the greatest guys that ever came out of
Yeah.
Sylacauga, Alabama.
Yes, sir.
Yep, and of course Bill is not with us now. Miranda's took up and she's doing what she can to help keep this reunion going in 97th year. Started
How old were
in
you when it first started?
1926. About as old as you was.
That's a good comeback.
So one thing, when I think something, I have to say it before it gets out of my mind. As time goes on, matter of fact, yesterday, as far as we're concerned, we lost one of the faithful to that reunion, Brother Buddy Hamilton. He went to be with the Lord. So I want to speak to the younger generation. We do want to keep this reunion going.
Yes.
And it's going to take the youth to do that. And those that's watching this, or those that you tell people, encourage them to come this coming Sunday. Of course, bring food. We'll have I'll bring a message from the Lord. My wife is supposed to sing. It'll be outside. Bring table, chairs, and food, of course, and come and let's fellowship together and keep this Hamilton reunion going.
Yes.
Miranda, what does this reunion mean to you personally, since you're Bill's daughter?
Well, it means family tradition and pride, and just coming together and sharing stories of being a Hamilton, and what that area means to everybody. And
Who is the Hamilton family?
well, back in the early 1900s, that community was large, and there was a large part of them was Hamiltons. There's Bakers and McDaniels and just different families that's married in with each other, but somehow it just come about to be called the Hamilton Day Reunion, and it's about family. Just
Have you been
getting
going to it
know
since you was a little girl?
Since I was born. Yep, since I was born.
What do you remember about some early days of it?
Oh, just the kids playing and the graves, and just looking at how old the graves were, and listening to the singing in the church, and the food was always great.
Mhm.
And just getting to see people that I hadn't seen in forever.
They put it out on those tables out there? Or?
Yes, we have food on the table. We had tables, but they've gotten
Yeah,
older, so we
right.
bring our tables and set up. And I remember this one little lady, she made the best chicken pot pie. I'd always go look for her and stand behind her and get her food. But it was mostly family tradition, just
Yeah.
getting to know your family and just keeping together.
For people who may not know, have known Bill, and a lot of us in this local area knew him, who was your daddy?
My daddy was something else. He was a person that you wouldn't know that, but he just looks like old country man. But he helped everybody. I remember sitting down at his plumbing shop, and people would come by just walking, and Daddy would sit and talk with them. I remember one time he was sitting talking to a older gentleman that come up on a bicycle, and he got a phone call, and it was Kay Ivey.
Wow.
He was the governor, so and he was friends to everybody, and he had a big part in politics around here. He believed in what he believed in, and he said, always do the right thing, and you won't have to worry about too much.
Yeah.
Just do the right thing.
Brother Donnie, and that's kind of capsuling the Hamilton reunion, isn't it?
It is, and by the way, I got a little Hamilton blood in me.
It
My
does.
grandmother
Okay.
was a Hamilton before she married. And another thing about Bill that I think about, he was all that Miranda's mentioned, but he was a historian too.
Mhm.
Yes.
He had a brain. He could tell you about anything.
I would often call on him and say, where's this gravesite at? He would know right off the top of his head where some of these graves have been around for several hundred years,
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
Yeah, well, I don't have no problem in getting it. My problem is keeping it. Bill died and he kept it.
Yeah, so talk about that cemetery down there a little bit.
Well, it's just an older cemetery, and I think it's a grave. I had to go, what, 1600, somewhere along in there. And
Yes.
I've actually buried a few people out there over the years, and it's just something that we want to keep going. And of course, I know there's been some vandalism, and you know
Sure.
that also. But there's plans to try to renovate some of that, and there again, I appreciate Miranda stepping up and taking over some of the roads that are dead.
You'd think,
They're
Miranda,
dead.
there'd be some kind of grants or something that might be available for
We-
restoration.
We have looked for that, and we're still looking.
Okay.
You know, it's
Okay.
a process, but yeah, there's been a lot of vandalism down
Do you
there.
remember being in the old church?
Oh
though?
yes. I remember going to church down there.
Oh, wow.
Yes, we would. One thing I remember, it always come a terrible storm every time we went to church down there. I look at Daddy like what, but it was a beautiful place. It was just one big room, and it just felt like home. You know, it was just so peaceful and nice in there, and just you could just feel your family there. You know, feel the spirit of your family there.
Now, Brother Donnie, you're not going to get to Talladega Springs just by happenstance. You have to be wanting to go to that church.
Oh yeah, and it's simple to get there from Silicon. Just go down Fayetteville, Talladega
going.
Springs, keep going till you come to the church. And some of the memories I have of a kid going with mother, and that was a highlight of my mother's year. I mention that all the time. And but I can remember people like Aunt Lou Hamilton wore the white bunny, and she'd get up and go to shouting and a hollering. And I remember the ladies of that day that wore bobby pins, and they'd go this way, and bobby pins would go yonder
You'd be
way.
escorted out of the church now.
Hey,
Yeah.
you wouldn't even get into church if you were subject to doing that. But folks, I'm gonna tell you something. Some of the good old times I don't care about going back to, because they were very stressful times. But we need to get back. We need to get back to not only the gospel, we need to get back to the old time gospel, where we're not ashamed to lift up Jesus Christ in our life and in this society we're living in. I can remember times the church would be absolutely packed out. People would be standing around. And hey, I cherish some of those times. I remember hauling water in a 55-gallon drum
Yes.
for the reunion, and so we modernized a little since then. But that's a spot that's precious in my mind, and I want to do what I can to keep
And that's
that
coming
going.
up Sunday morning?
Coming up Sunday, and in 3 years it will be the 100th
Oh,
family
goodness.
reunion. This one is the 97th.
So what time does everything start?
Everybody can start getting there around 10. Brother Donnie starts with a message around 11. Around 12 we eat, and we fellowship during and after that, and just go until we leave.
Now, let's just stop just a second, okay? Families are so scattered today. We've got
Right.
so many different family members going different directions, and the Hamilton reunion kind of brings us all back together a little bit, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And there's times, I have a lot of cousins, but there's times that's the only time I see them is at this family reunion, and it brings back a pride of family, and to know that you belong to a part, and that these people have part of you.
Yeah.
You belong.
Yeah. And Brother Donnie, you given some descriptions of some of your relatives who have long been gone, but back in that day, it's quite common to dress like that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And I've had people in the past, and some of us not able to come anymore, and they'd tell me, said, we knew that time of the year, Daddy'd throw us on the wagon, hook the mules up, and here we'd
Wow.
go. Hey, nothing wrong. And people, listen, be proud of your heritage.
Yes.
I'm proud of my heritage. We didn't have hardly nothing coming up. But I got Jesus, and we got memories, and be proud of it. And this reunion is part of those memories. So I want to challenge you to be faithful, and let's keep this thing going.
So you have mentioned that a couple of times. What goes into keeping this going?
Well, just being present for one thing, just making plans to be there that day. We ask people too to bring pictures of their families, of old pictures of anything of the church, of the graveyard, of any of their people that has passed on. Just to come, to the third Sunday in September, Hamilton Day.
This generation, Miranda, it's hard for us to grasp this,
Yes, it is. It is.
Wow.
But I can guarantee you, anybody that is my age, and even my children in their 30s, know this is the day. That's the day for our family reunion.
Yeah, wow. Brother Donnie, how do you prepare? I know you're going to be preaching Sunday. You have the last number of years there. Do you prepare differently for something like this?
Well, I don't. The way a born-again child of God and a preacher, you go by God's leadership. He gives me the message every year. Sometimes, like at our church last night, I went in planning on preaching on Revelation, 3 chapters in Revelation, and got there, and he changed every bit of that. Sometimes he'll change it while I'm standing there.
And you just go along with the plan, right?
That's right, got to.
So, before we go this morning, we appreciate Miranda and Brother Donnie being with us this morning here on Daybreak Live. You mentioned that pot pie.
Yeah.
What would be your favorite dish there, Brother Donnie?
Any kind of meat. Meat person.
There'll probably be a few desserts there, won't there?
Oh yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad's favorite was roast, so I always have to fix a roast and just remember him.
All right. Tell me another quick story about Bill Hamilton.
Oh, about my daddy. He loved to pick and grin. He was a pick and grinner. He loved country music. He loved to be able to bring people together. He had the picking and grinning down at the corner for over 15 years, every Friday night.
He had some big names come in down there,
He sure
too.
did. He did. And he had Jerry Lee Lewis's bass guitar player that played with Pee Wee Dutton, who was inducted into the Steel Guitar Hall of Fame, was his steel guitar player. And Daddy just enjoyed that. And like you said, and he was a historian. Anytime that anybody started talking about anything in history, especially around here, he just lit up and he knew just about something about everything.
He was well known in Montgomery, the capital.
Yes, he was. Yes.
And you look at Bill and say he's non-assuming, seemed like, but hey, when he spoke, people listened.
Yeah.
All right. All right, thank you both for being with us this morning. Brother Donnie, we're going to leave the final thought with you today about Hamilton Reunion coming up Sunday.
Okay, once again, I want you to come and be part of it. We'll have all these things we mentioned. We'll have fellowship, and just fix your favorite dish, bring it, we'll share. But I want you to know, if you're not in a position to fix any food, you'll still be welcome to come.
We have plenty.
And there'll be plenty of food. You might say, well, I'm not a Hamilton. Everybody is invited to this, and we would certainly encourage you to come and be a part of it and help us celebrate this very important day in our lives.
It just kind of dropped in my mind, Miranda, of maybe people don't have anything to do with the Hamilton Reunion, don't know anything about it, but they're history buffs. They bring their kids to an event like this, and they'll be enlightened, won't they?
Yes, they would. Yeah. Just the graveyard itself has so much. There's so many old graves in there, and there's so many stories about Like there was my great-great-great-grandmother that her and her husband had children on both sides of the river, down the Coast River, and they both said, whichever side I die on, that's where I want to be buried. Well, she's on this side, and he's on the other side.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Is a church where you can walk in it, or is it closed down, or?
It is closed
Okay.
down. There was a mishap that happened a couple years ago, and we've been in a legal thing with that, and we have it finalized, and we just have not been able to get to the plans going for the church. We're not sure if we're going to be able to save it,
Yeah.
but we do have plans to put something up to have memory for all the
But
for everybody to go
to visualize and in our minds memories of such years like that and such history is fantastic. I thank and applaud all of y'all for plodding along and keeping the Hamilton reunion going this Sunday down in Talladega Springs, Alabama. Thanks both of you for being here.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Yes.
More
for having
Daybreak
us.
in just a minute.